Welcome back. This time on Movie Lapse I'm going to explain you a sci-fi thriller movie, called The Signal. Sit back, relax and enjoy the video. The movie begins with a scene in a cafe where a young boy is seen attempting to win a prize from a claw machine game, but he fails in his attempts. A young man named Nick is leaving the cafe with the help of hand crutches when he notices the boy struggles. He approaches the kid and helps him with grabbing a toy from the claw machine. We cut to a traveling montage of Nick, his girlfriend Haley and Jonah, their best friend. We see them at the carnival, visiting the aquarium and eating at restaurants. One evening, Nick wakes up in a hotel room. He hears a notification from his phone and discovers a message from a hacker known as Nomad, who has been tormenting them. Nick wakes Jonah up, and they retreat to the bathroom to check their email and respond to Nomad. The hacker claims to have hacked into the servers of MIT and tampered with personnel files, including their own. This caused them to almost get expelled from school. Nick vows to find Nomad, but the hacker retaliates by sending an email with a video attachment that shows Haley sleeping next to her laptop. Nomad had hacked her webcam. Nick reacts angrily and immediately closes the laptop. Nick and Jonah embark on an exhaustive search to trace Nomad's IP address, and they finally locate the hacker in Good Springs, Nevada. They celebrate their discovery, realizing that they can finally confront the person who almost ruined their lives. However, their celebration is cut short when Haley wakes up and reminds them that they need to get some rest before they continue their journey in the morning. It is revealed that the real purpose of their trip is to help Haley move to California to continue her studies, but Nick has been avoiding the topic. At a gas station, Nick goes to get coffee while Haley asks Jonah if Nick has discussed her moving to California with him. Jonah declines to comment, saying that both Haley and Nick are his friends, and it's not his place to get involved. He advises Haley to talk to Nick about it. As Nick emerges from the gas station with his coffee, he trips and falls due to his crutches. Embarrassed and angry, he declines Haley and Jonah's assistance, insisting that he will go buy more coffee himself. Haley attempts to lift his spirits by being cute, but Nick is in no mood. Haley then reveals that she decided to assist in their search for Nomad not because Nick needed her help, but because he thought he didn't. Nick reacts angrily to her comment, and Haley storms off in frustration. Nick confides in Jonah about their proximity to Nomad and urges him to go after the hacker. However, he soon realizes that Haley is missing, and Jonah tells him that she walked off. Nick goes after her and they have a heart-to-heart conversation about their relationship and his reluctance to talk about her moving to California. Nick expresses his concern about his quality of life and does not want Haley to give up her dreams for him. Haley, however, sees his behavior as a way of avoiding his problems and her. This is contrary to his advice to always confront problems directly. She takes off a necklace that Nick had given her and tries to return it. When he refuses, she surprisingly tosses it over a cliff, leaving Nick stunned. The three of them continue to drive towards the location of Nomad. Nick is initially hesitant to bring Haley along, but she insists on going and even expresses her eagerness to confront the hacker. Later, they arrive at the location, which is an abandoned trailer in complete darkness. Jonah wants to bail, but Nick is determined to investigate further. While exploring the basement of the trailer, they hear Haley scream and rush back to the car to find all the doors open and the radio going crazy. Haley is nowhere to be found, but they eventually spot her in the distance, being lifted into the sky. Nick and Jonah chase after her, with the scene being interspersed with random flashes. Nick awakens in a sterile white room, restrained to a wheelchair and wearing a hospital gown. A man in a white hazmat suit stands near him, and another hazmat-suited man arrives with a tape recorder, introducing himself as Dr. Wayland Damon. Damon questions Nick about his first encounter with the Signal, an extraterrestrial biological entity that Nick has no knowledge of. Nick inquires about his friends Jonah and Haley but is denied access to them or to call his parents. Nick asks about the nature of the EBE, but Damon cuts him off when he notices a nosebleed. Nick is taken back to a sterile hospital room and the next day, as he is wheeled around the facility, he sees several rooms being cleaned out or closed off. He spots Haley in one of the rooms, but his guard prevents him from seeing her. Damon starts a series of yes or no questions with Nick, beginning with control questions like whether Nick comes from Earth. Nick becomes frustrated with the test and Damon brings in a television to show Nick footage of an alien figure hidden in a tree that was filmed by Jonah. Nick is horrified and Damon reveals that Nomad was not just a hacker. In his room, Nick throws his food off the table in anger and hears Jonah's voice coming from a vent, who tells Nick that he fears he has been experimented on. During another test, Nick completes it passively aggressively and demands to see Haley before he will say another word. Damon allows it and tells Nick that Haley is in a coma and he can speak to her once she wakes up. Determined to escape, Nick spreads breadcrumbs on a keypad to figure out the code and with Jonah's help, they discover it is 7,521. However, Jonah suddenly panics and leaves, and Nick calls out to him but he is gone. Damon is observed watching a cow from behind a pane of glass within the facility, playing music to agitate something inside. Suddenly, the lights go out and a chair is hurled towards the glass, which doesn't break. Nick is subsequently locked down with 2 hazmat guards in a room, noticing deep cuts in the walls after they leave. Nick is interrogated by Damon once again, where he asks about Jonah and confirms they have been eavesdropping on his conversations. Nick then proceeds to criticize the outdated nature of the facility and Damon's leadership, warning that he, Jonah, or Nomad could easily expose the truth and bring everything down. He demands answers about Jonah's whereabouts. Damon discloses that Jonah was never retrieved and that Nick was talking to himself, a claim that Nick denies. Later, Damon and his team investigate Nick's room and discover the drawings outlining the entire facility. Nick tries to flee with Haley on her hospital bed, but Damon catches him before he can open the door with the keypad. Nick later dreams of running, competing, and enjoying time with Haley. Nick wakes up to find Haley finally awake. They greet each other and reach for each other's hands, but a hazmat man interrupts them and pushes them apart. Nick protests and tries to reach for Haley again, but 2 men restrain him. He falls off his bed, and they see that his legs have been replaced with cybernetic legs of alien origin. The hazmat men panic and leave the room. Damon, who has been watching behind a window, explains to Nick that they kept him in the dark because it would be too difficult to explain what had happened. He wants to help Nick and Haley, but Nick must calm down and hook himself up to an 4 nearby. Instead, Nick stands near the door and braces himself. He uses his new legs to kick the door down and push Haley towards the exit. Damon follows them, assessing the damage and injuries that occurred along the way. He confronts Nick at the elevator to the surface, warning him that he is only safe in the facility and cannot protect him up there. Nick doesn't understand what Damon means and has had enough. He pushes Damon back and closes the elevator, riding it up with Haley. Nick and Haley find themselves in a dark sewer-like system with 3 paths after Nick pushes Haley down a long corridor. They choose a path and end up in the middle of the desert with no help in sight. Meanwhile, Damon prepares his team to track them down. Out of nowhere, they are picked up by a delusional religious woman named Mirabelle who drops them off at a gas station. Nick goes inside the bar to find a phone but sees on TV that they are classified as biohazard threats. Haley ignores Nick's directions to stay put and enters a truck that Nick chases down. Nick catches up and they steal the truck from the driver at gunpoint. Damon continues his search for them. While driving, Haley notices Nick's new legs and asks what happened. Damon sets up a roadblock and pulls over Mirabelle, who is carrying a red briefcase. He asks her to accompany him, but she seems more unstable. Nick suddenly has to stop the truck, and they find the road ending abruptly with a cliff in front of them, realizing they have no idea where they are. Damon talks to Mirabelle about Nick and Haley, and it's implied he kills her when he opens his briefcase to reveal a pistol. After Nick and Haley take shelter in a visitor center, Nick attempts to find a working phone but fails, and discovers that all the paperwork is blank. Haley looks at a site map and they both realize that they have no sense of direction or familiarity with the geography. When Haley hears a noise outside, Nick doesn't hear anything but decides they should stay put for the night. Haley asks if everything is her fault, but Nick takes responsibility. When Haley asks if Nick's legs hurt, he says no. Meanwhile, Damon and his team lock down a building, and Nick and Haley hear something while sleeping outside and hide, believing Damon has found them. However, we learn that Damon has actually quarantined James in his home. Despite James pointing a shotgun at him, Damon stays calm and listens as James talks about his family being with him, even though they are not. James attempts to shoot Damon but the shotgun is empty. Damon reassures James and shoots him in the chest, covering his body with a blanket and patting his shoulder. Nick and Haley hide and come face to face with Jonah, who has managed to escape from the facility. They notice a strange mark on Haley's neck and conclude that she had also been experimented on. Jonah is convinced that they are in Area 51, given their tattoo and the strange locals, but Nick is skeptical. Jonah shows Nick his cybernetic arm implants, similar to his leg implants, and they plan to escape by driving through a checkpoint. Jonah drives the truck with Nick and Haley in the back, but the guards stop them. Jonah panics and tries to speed away, but the guards activate a cinder block that keeps the truck in place. Jonah takes a guard's gun and fires some shots before running into a nearby building, leaving Nick and Haley behind. Jonah sees a laptop and grabs it while he is taking fire by the guards. He tries to override the gate controls but has no luck. One hazmat guy shoots a concussion grenade into the building, causing it to explode, and disorienting Jonah greatly. Jonah walks out in a daze and gets shot twice. Fatally wounded, he goes to Nick and tells him to get in the truck with Haley. When he gives the signal, he needs them to go. Nick doesn't want to leave without him, but Jonah is firm. Nick and Haley get into the truck and Jonah uses his arm to smash the cinder block hold on the truck. Nick peels away, leaving Jonah behind. Crying and screaming, Jonah punches the ground with his arms, causing shockwaves on the ground, knocking hazmat men the ground. He does this several times, buying his friends time but knowing he will eventually be killed. Cut to Nick and Haley, devastated in knowing that their friend is dead. In the distance, they see Damon has set up a roadblock. Unsure what to do, Nick continues to drive towards it, despite seeing all the guns pointed at them. Damon nods to two men who throw down a spike strip. Nick hits it, blowing the tires and causing the truck to flip. Time passes. Nick and Haley are beaten and broken, having crawled out of the truck cab. Nick looks at Haley, unable to do anything. He flashes back to the time they spent together. Haley whispers that she loves him. She hands him something as hazmat men grab her and evacuate her to a waiting chopper. Nick looks at his hand. It is the necklace he thought she threw away. Nick gets up as Damon walks up to him. Nick looks at the helicopter flying away. Damon tells him not to bother as he cannot catch them. Nick notices that sticker on Damon's suit and realizes that Damon is nomad backwards. Damon confirms this fact, saying he put out the signal, a signal that few had found, but Nick and his friends did. Damon also indirectly reveals that they were the ones that experimented on Nick and his friends. They were looking for the perfect combination of human will and alien technology. Damon tells Nick that he can blame him, but Nick was the one who came searching for him. So the question remains, was Nick who they had been searching for? Nick stares at Damon and his men who train guns at him. Emotions course through his veins. He screams, his legs glowing fire red and causing the ground to crack. Nick begins to run fast. Damon's men fire at him, but Nick is too fast. He runs faster and faster until he crashes through a barrier like glass. He finds himself in a building-like structure. Turning around, he sees he crashed through the desert zone. Everything he has been a simulation. Damon calmly walks up to the end of the simulation and removes his hazmat helmet. He shows Nick the back of his head, showing he is an alien hybrid. Nick looks out the window and sees that he is at an unknown space station about to dock with an unknown planet. His best friend is dead, his girlfriend has been taken to be further experimented on, and he is alone on an alien planet with no clue on what to do next and no hope of getting home. Make sure to subscribe our channel for more videos like this. Thank you and have a nice day.